Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Biehl, and thank you all for coming, first of all. And I'm here to talk about my experiences as a whole throughout taking the course Senior Seminar. So my experiences can be broken up into three spheres, you could say. The first being my project, the second being the research that I did, and the third being what I took away from this entire experience. So I'll start with my project. What did I do? Why did I choose to do it? So when I sat down to think about what I wanted to do for a project, I knew a couple things. I knew that the community of Bo has given me a lot. They've provided a lot of great opportunities for me, including sports, scouts, and education. So there are some examples of me taking advantage of the opportunities that the town has provided for me. So knowing this, I also knew that I wanted to give some back to the community. And I've done so a little bit. For example, I helped paint some dugouts at the field complex on Alton Road, and I also built and installed bat houses and for those same fields for my Eagle project. But I wanted to give back a little bit more. And I thought, what better way to do so than through my Senior Sem project? So I decided to do a community service project. I volunteered at the Bo Youth Center, and while I was there, I basically did everything a counselor would do, but I had less responsibilities, so it was more fun for me. So I would do things like walk the kids up to the playground, run a couple of games for them, and here's a picture of me playing Mancala with, that's Blake in the blue and Dustin. Sorry, folks. All right. So I learned a lot through my experiences, and I also made a lot of observations while I was there. And those observations, I wanted to test and see if I could prove them. And so that's where I got the idea for my research. I researched the benefits of small towns. And here's my thesis. Small towns are some of the best places to live because lesser populations and land areas lead to lower crime rates, greater pride for one's town, enhanced familiarity, and deeper connections among the citizens throughout the town. So that's broken up into three parts also: crime, pride, and connections. So we'll start with crime. According to the Bureau of Justice, the crime rate per 100,000 people, this is crime involving handguns, per 100,000 people in cities, in metropolitan areas, is 5.9. Compared to towns, 1.7, that's less than a third. Also, we'll take a look at this, Movoto Real Estate's Best Places in New Hampshire. They did a study of 30 towns in New Hampshire, and they ranked them in all sorts of categories. But I'd like to draw your attention to population and crimes rank. That's 1 being the most crime, 30 being the least. So you'll see Bedford and Concord have populations, Concord well above 20,000 and Bedford just above 20,000. They were ranked 3 and 5 on the crimes list. Down at the bottom, Berlin and Pelham, their populations hovering just around 10,000. They were ranked 28 and 30 out of 30. Now we'll move on to pride. I know that I have a lot of pride in my town that stems from the opportunities, my gratefulness for the opportunities that it's given me. But I really wanted to hear this from other people too, not just me. So I have a couple of quotes from real townspeople in real towns. First is from Sergeant Luigi. She was my mentor. She said, "I've been in the same town for nearly 20 years. This is my town. This is me. I love what I do, and I love the community." And this next quote is from an anonymous townsperson in the documentary An American Small Town, and she said, "You're part of something big, you're part of something, a big network of people that share something in common, that you share something in common with." So those are great quotes that align themselves with my pride for Bo. So next, we'll go to the connections that can be made within a small town. This is the last portion of my research, and it deals with the familiarity and connections that can be made within a small town. So again, for me, I've experienced this and I've observed this firsthand, but I wanted to hear from other people. So this is a quote here from Amy Kessler. She said, "Small towns are great for a close community feeling where everyone knows everyone." And this is really true. For me, I know everywhere I go, it seems like I see someone I know, whether it's the Baker Free Library or getting gas at Irving. Just a couple weeks ago, actually, I saw someone that I haven't seen in a while I was getting gas. He was a senior while I was a freshman, and he played football, so I got to catch up with him on that. It was pretty cool. And this next quote is from Emily. She said, "Small towns are simpler places. Everyone knows each other's business, and there's always someone to talk to." So in today's world, connections are really important because they make the world work and they make it function smoothly. And these connections are easier to come by within small towns, and they can also be deeper and more personal. So lastly, my takeaway from the entire experience. What did I learn? Well, I think I learned 3 things. I made connections, first of all. A great example of this is I made a connection with Mrs. Morrison at the Biehl Youth Center. And at the same time I was working on this project, I was working on my Eagle project, and I needed to do a fundraiser. And I was able to use that connection that I made with her to run my fundraiser at the Biehl Youth Center. And I was very successful because of the connections I had made with the kids at the Biehl Youth Center. They were all excited to help me and everything. So I was very successful there. It was a great experience. And also, I've been able to strengthen some connections. For example, with Sergeant Luigi, my mentor, through this experience. I also believe that I've improved some of my social skills through this entire experience, working with kids for a lot. You know, kids can be pretty hard to talk to. Young kids can be pretty hard to talk to and be pretty crazy sometimes. And lastly, of course, I learned the importance of community, which is what the whole thing's about. On that note, I'd like to thank Sergeant Luigi for being my mentor. I'd like to thank Mrs. Morrison and the entire Biehl Youth Center staff, even though they're not here, for the experience, for the opportunity to volunteer there and making my experience fun and easy. And Mrs. Aubin and Mrs. Dustin for being my teachers. Does anybody have any questions?
Job, dope!